There we go. All right. Well, thanks for hopping on with us. My name's Janet Brush, and I'm a recruit of Mike's, Mike Guerra's. And I just kind of want to kind of dive right in because we don't have a lot of time and we have a lot of talking points. So, um, just to give you a little bit about myself, and then I'll let Jason, go into his story as well. Last year in January, I I had recently, like 2, 3 months prior, been laid off from a job, which most of y'all know. I used to work at Yelp, that company that has you have an app on your phone, and come January, you didn't get a job before the holidays. Well, then after the holidays, well, finally starting to get some interviews lined up. And Mike called me like the last week in January and was like, "What are you doing? Where are you living? What have you been up to? Hey, you need to do this thing that I'm doing." I'm like, "Okay, I'll listen this time." He had actually tried to recruit me like 3 years prior. And so I was definitely intrigued in listening to what he had to say. Saw what he was making, knowing he had been recently new into the business, 2.5 years or 3 years at that point. And I was invited like that day to go to Dallas to the event up there. And so I took advantage of that opportunity, went up there, and my mind was blown. I saw the opportunity before I went, but it was solidified after I went. So I came back, got my license, and within 30 days was helping somebody with life insurance. So that's my like little quick story on how I got into it. And it's been a crazy ride, but a fun one, and something I foresee doing for the rest of my career, and helping a lot of people do the same as well. And a little snippet of like my personal life. I'm a single mom that lives in the middle of nowhere, a town that's like 400 residents, and it's a town between Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. So I have a lot against me as far as like trying to meet people in person. It's such a far drive, but I've been making it work. But I'll like hand it over to Jason, let him tell y'all a little bit about himself, and we'll go from there. You're on mute.
There we go. Hey guys, I'm Jason Bradshaw. Hey Janet, thank you. You're just honestly crushing it, doing a great, amazing job. I inspire to be you, you know. So I really appreciate being on the call with you. And little backstory on me, like Dan said in his little post earlier, that for the last, I guess I've had my license for about 3 years, but like he was saying, I was going part time, super part time, because at the time I had my 9 to 5, my career. I've been a lab rat for the last 15 years. I was a chemist when I first started doing this. I know that's not very typical, and I've known Earl for the longest time, and he got me involved in this. He introduced me to the concepts, and I had known him and Nick and Dan and all these other guys from the previous business. And, honestly, at the lab, things were just starting to go downhill a little bit. And I was open to other ideas because it just wasn't really filling my cup anymore. And that was what I was looking for. So Earl introduced me to this. He's like, hey, listen, all you got to do is take a test, take this certification course and, start making money. I was like, okay, cool. Like, let me check this out. When I started getting into it, it really spoke to me. Being able to help people belly to belly inside the homes and sitting down with them has been truly amazing and fulfilling so far. And so luckily, I've been doing it for part time for 3 years or so, and then last May, my lab went through some layoffs, and a lot of people would take that as a negative, but a couple days I was sad, but then I realized that I just got 40 plus hours back, and I wanted to start giving this a go, and then I started talking to Dan, I just started talking to Earl, on a daily basis, and just really came up with a plan and started to having to create a new routine because going to the lab, then after the lab I would see clients and go from there, and it was a pretty hectic schedule, but now I get to focus 100% on what I'm passionate about. And it's been amazing so far, you know. So luckily I got laid off, silver lining, and now I get to do this, and it's amazing. So, all
That's
right, Janet, you're up.
awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. And that you speak of schedules, because that's the first thing we really want to touch base on. And some people, that's their strength. They can set a schedule, stick to it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people, on the other hand, it's a struggle on a constant basis. I know before I had my daughter's 2 years old. Before I had my daughter, I can like vividly remember times where I struggled with routine at jobs that I worked from home or whatever. And if there's a clear distinction. And so I do want to encourage people to like find your like rhythm that pushes you to have that discipline. Now I don't have a choice. Like if I cannot work, if I don't take my kid into daycare by a certain time, I have to feed her if I don't take her by 8 o'clock. So it really gives me like that defining, like you have to, no matter how much sleep you got, you're going, getting up and going to the daycare to drop her off. And then I strategically don't even go home. I go to the coffee shop and work, and I work all day until I have to pick her up. That's my now schedule. But when I first started, it was insane of a schedule. And I'll just kind of touch base on how, like, my mindset when I first started, because that's probably more, that was a lot more difficult. But when I first started, I just knew that I had, between the hours that my daughter was in daycare, and I got lucky and so blessed with somebody to help watch my daughter, because I would have to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours into Houston to like meet with people in person. And um and anyway, so I would have to drop her off at 8. My first appointment really couldn't be till about 9:30, 10. And the rhythm that I got in was just, you either have appointments or you're door knocking. And sometimes I'd be dialing on the way to a door knock, right? I was very strategic in making sure that I was pretty much within being safe, trying to constantly hit up every angle and take advantage of every minute I could while I was on the clock, um, doing money producing activities. And one of the things I think that set me apart was 2 days a week when I first started. For a few months, I would do sun up to sundown days. So I would make sure that my daughter was taken care of on those 2 days. Because if I was going to go to Houston on those days, like I wanted to set appointments all day, as many as I could, fill it in with door knocks in between. But one of the things that will set you apart if you're doing direct mail is, if you have a 7 o'clock appointment and the sun's up till 9, and that 7 o'clock's not there, what are you going to do? And I never went home, like, until the sun went down. It was like that movie, Just One More, like just one more door, just, just one more knock, just one more call on the way home, hoping they'll pick up and I'll drive that way instead. So, um, so anyways, that was my mindset when I first started. And then I didn't really work weekends. And then 3 evenings, I wanted to be with my daughter. So that was pretty important. And then more recently, I went hybrid for like a month or two. Well, a little bit difficult to kind of do that. And I also saw the opportunity for virtual and the pros and cons. And so January, I started doing that. And so I work from home full time now, loving it. But anyway, that's my schedule. And I'll let Jason take it away and tell you what he does on the daily.
Thanks, Janet. So
You're
like
welcome.
right now, it started off when I first started doing this. I would do, because I had that 9 to 5 was a hectic schedule. I would do it Friday, Saturdays, so dial Fridays for Saturdays. But having it back, those extra hours every week. Now I'm dialing on Mondays to fill up Tuesdays, and then I'm doing anything that doesn't get taken care of on that Monday, then it shifts over to Wednesdays. So then on Wednesday, I'll dial for Thursday, Friday, and then if those don't get filled, then I'll fill it in with some virtual appointments. Or if, let's say, the client they didn't feel comfortable coming to the house, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But I'll put them in on a phone call and then just treat it like a virtual appointment and just go from there. And right now I'm not really working on the weekends, but I save that for either current clients or bigger cases to work on those. So that's kind of a brief synopsis of what I'm doing right now for the schedule.
And tell us a little bit about like, what do you do on your dial days, Jason?
Okay. Yeah, great point. So definitely I have them blocked out for on those days. Typically I'll do it for about an hour, 15 to hour and a half blocks, just so I can get up, move around, and I don't get stir crazy because I went from being in the, I'm going to say in the field, like in a lab, walking around all day, being very active and, not really sitting down all that much unless I had to do some paperwork or whatever the case was to, sitting in my home, in my office and actually calling and doing that stuff, which was a huge change for me. And I start getting a little antsy. So that's why I do it in those smaller time chunks. Because that helps me a lot better to do it from an hour to hour 15, hour 30, depending on what I'm feeling. And if I start getting on a roll, it'll go a little bit longer. But I also make it a point to take those breaks so then I don't start to get really worn down and because we all know how some people can be on the phone and you don't want to take that on yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And when it comes to dial days, I know a lot of us have different experiences and, they kind of go into like how many dials you should do on average. And that obviously is going to be different for everyone. I found it, really hard to spend a lot of time dialing because I actually, from the beginning, hit the ground running when it came to being in home. So a lot of the hours I was driving from home to home or in a home or dealing with admin work. So on a Monday, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm dialing all day. And then half the day I'd be spending more, 2/3 of the day I was spending like cleaning up from the week before. And I found myself not dialing till 2 or 3. And I'm like, I need more time. But you know what? It all worked out. And, I can kind of contribute it to learning that when you get someone on the phone, just be the most efficient you can be, right? If you don't have as much time as someone else, just be like super efficient or just have a lot of leads so you can like get the lowest hanging fruit you can quick. And so like I think the first batch of leads I bought was like 50. Started dialing them on a Thursday evening for the or sorry, like I don't know, like a Tuesday or Wednesday. But I know like I made like 16 appointments within 24 hours off that batch of leads. And I was off to the races. So like spending a whole day, I was spending most of the days going, who do I gotta call for this? The admin side that you learn pretty quickly, you gotta do too. But it all worked out. I kept busy every week. In this business, y'all, there's so many people that have what we offer. You just gotta like, there's so many lead opportunities. Just latch on to someone that's really good at it and listen to them. Listen to like what they're doing, what they're saying, and like, dial, like call them and listen to what they're doing when they're dialing, so you can actually like hear it repetitively. So you can like, be really good on the phone and not, be behind the curve all the time and not have a full calendar. And then when it comes to now, I mean, I'm dialing all day. So like I just dial all the day, all the time. I actually this been the most craziest 2 weeks ever in this business. These last 2 weeks, my head's spinning that I actually was like, I can't fit all these leads. I'm starting to let them pile up because I'm actually getting people on the phone. These are really great leads I'm working and it's like, so I want to like, I was putting appointments on the weekend, but I mean, you've all got boundaries, but I did it while my daughter was sleeping. So it's okay. But the type of leads that I was doing in the beginning were direct mail. I was getting a lot of A leads in the beginning, probably 6 months in. Maybe I started really doing B, C's, D's. I didn't really care what it was. I just knew that if I had someone's name and number, like that's awesome. And I just needed to like have a full schedule. So The direct mail is great. Just learn to like overcome the objections. Really, really, really good. They're amazing. These people will sell you on the fact that they don't need anything all day, every day. And I'm going to sell them on the fact that I just need to sit with them and make sure that they have everything taken care of. They're living and they're going to die, you know? So, and 90-something% of people need what we have. So, the direct mail is what I started with. And then then now I'm doing those leads. I mean, they're just like amazing. You call them and it's like, I don't know if it just seems easy now because I did direct mail and I basically was trained to hear no. I don't remember filling that out. And now they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is nice. So I really urge everyone, if you're not trying the ethos, do it. If you're very inexperienced, have your upline maybe hop on a second call with you and let them close the first couple with you. Because it's like butter. Like there's just so many people that need it and they like remember filling it out and they're very open to talking to you. So, and what kind of leads are you working, Jason?
So right now I'm working, Bang Bang is primarily what I've been doing.
Yeah.
I made that decision that I needed to get the best bang for my buck, essentially, and needed
Mhm.
to get caught up on that and really get, punch in the gut, see everyone that's out there and all different demographics and everything. Because I've met with homeless people all the way up to to people that are in the Broadmoor here, which is crazy. Just seeing the demographic on how wide that is, and just being able to see all of the reasoning that everyone has for this, whether it's like, oh, it's not in the budget, or I have X, Y, and Z health issues, and just it really gave me the confidence in order to sit down with pretty much anybody. And if they're saying it's not in the budget, it's like, okay, cool, where we use the AIM technique, acknowledge, ignore, and move on, to do that, because 99% of the time that's not the case. Sometimes it is, but really it's not. It's Dutch Brothers, cutting that out, or Starbucks. But so I was doing that, plus another lead source that I was playing with, or that I am playing with, that is focused more on retirement. So that's for more of the people that have higher intent, and they have, like the 401ks, the Roth IRAs, and just various different retirement accounts. And they're just trying to figure out if they have what they need in order to retire. And when I sit with them and we get to that point where it's like, okay, well, we can help you in this way. Are you interested? Then that's when I talk to my upline. I bring Nick in, or I talk to what is it now? Integrity Marketing Group. It used to be BAM. I talk to Chris Norris there, ask for his help, send him a green sheet, do all that stuff. Sometimes have a call with him beforehand, depending on the client, and then he'll sit there and talk to them. And same with Nick, same with Dan, same with any of these guys that are on our team, that they're there to help us and basically just hit it out of the park for us, which is awesome. So now I'm transitioning, because all of you guys are having all this luck on ethos leads. I put in a pretty big lead investment over the weekend to start running those this week, and then continuing forward and phasing out Bang Bang. Bang Bang is great for their purpose. It gave me enough shots on goal to get that confidence to know what I'm doing. And now it's time to get to these ethos leads that I keep hearing about, that you guys are just raving about. So I'm pretty excited about that. Janet, what are some pros and cons on running virtual appointments versus in-home? Since I haven't started that yet, I want to get your take on it.
Ooh, that's a loaded question. um, Direct mail was awesome because you had more control. Like they can't go 3, 4, 5 weeks before like you have an appointment and they may accidentally, forget to, that you're coming or whatever. And you try to avoid that with tie downs on the phone call, blah, blah, blah. But when you're in the home, they're not like normally kicking you out. I don't think I've really gotten ever kicked out. Maybe close, but, but, direct mail is awesome because I mean, you're sitting in front of them. A lot of them don't have jobs anymore. They're retired. They're like excited you're there. Um, you can, I mean, the policies that you can write for these people, the final expenses, I didn't appreciate it then as much as I like should have, is like the instant approvals was amazing. So there was a lot of instant gratification that was going on with that, you know. Whereas, you know, I started doing full-time virtual, and I mean, of course, it's another learning curve. However, it maybe took a little bit longer of a learning curve in the sense that, you know, well, we're trying to figure things out now a little bit different, but then when I first started 2, 3 months ago, um, you know, I was doing the first call, second call, third call. You know, I'd been selling, but you know, it was new doing it over the phone, and being real strategic with them was like, it's actually super important how you say something, tonality, this, that. You have to be very sharp to like have them go in the direction that the conversation needs to go without them putting, you know, I don't trust you, you know, I'll just hang up. But in person, they may not trust you, but you can still sit there, call your upline, and they can open up quicker and better and faster. Like when you're in person, it's just more personable. Um, Now looking back, you know, I wish I could have done virtual all along, but I don't know if I would have gotten to the point in 3 months where like, I like 20,000 in annual premium in the last week and a half or so. It's insane. And to me, I'm so like inundated with people that I've met within that week or two that I have coming up to like, you know what I mean? So the opportunity is crazy. The deals are seeming to be larger just in general on the policies that I'm writing virtually. They're larger. Do I think they'll probably have less chargebacks? I do think I'll have less chargebacks. I think I'm dealing with very sound people, you know, like you and I in the workforce, younger, they're whippersnappers, they're busy. So sometimes like, it's been 4 weeks. You know, you've tried like 3 or 4 times to get a hold of somebody and they just end up being busy at that time that they thought they wouldn't be. So it's like more touches, but you just have to have more irons, you know, like in the fire. Like you have to like talk to more people throughout the week, you know. Um, I mean, I could talk forever more, but you know, one thing I'm going to say about the virtual is that Elizabeth and Carolyn, I shared a link with them and they just like hopped on. Well, Elizabeth, it's like our third day doing it today, but I essentially gave them a link that was just open for all day while I'm at the coffee shop. You can just like literally text me and say, I'll hop on, just we'll click on the link together and I'll let you listen to me dial all day. Like just put yourself on mute and you can dial. And when you get a chance, you just listen to me. You know what I mean? And they're like learning firsthand, like just how I say things and they're, you know, and how it's just crazy. To eat those leads, y'all just do it. Do it, do it, do it. Um, and sorry, I gotta look at notes. I'm not a really good public speaker. So lead investment in the beginning, I went balls to the wall. Like I think I spent like a good chunk of money, like I bought like 50 A leads my first go round. But I think, I mean, I mean, 14, 13, 12, 12, 13 exit in the first 30 days. I mean, if you, our team is so awesome. Like if you just listen to them, you know, and like literally like the process is, they've got the process down. So if you really just listen to them and if you're not collecting a paycheck and you're dialing them and giving them the opportunity to like figure out, you know, what they can do, it'll go a long way. Like Mike was awesome when I first started going in homes and learning the business. There's a lot of people out there that will help you. So I think I think on average a month I might have been doing 1,000 to 1,500, maybe on average the first 10 months, maybe I'd say maybe so.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's your total lead investment that you were doing. What are you doing right now?
I just recently, I'm going to do $500 a week. That's in my budget. I'm just doing $500 a week. I've signed up on the automatic draft, boom, 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 boom. And if I feel like I got time, I couldn't imagine having more time. Like they're just so good. You're on the phone with them for like an hour and a half, getting all the husbands, all the wives, all their information. They're opening up about their whole life. I mean, and then you're talking about like just today, y'all, $240 calling him back tomorrow about it. $140 a month, calling back Friday about it. Drunk, just I'm calling about this. It's just crazy. Like every day, it's like 3 or 4 policies that are like ginormous. It's crazy. Love it.
So with that being said, for like the newer people that are on this,
Mhm.
what would your recommendation be for them starting out, coming from your perspective?
Yes, I wouldn't change the fact that I had maybe like a less ROI doing direct mail because I think it makes me stronger now. So I do think that you should go in person at least a couple days a week in the beginning and maybe do like I would probably do like at least 2 days virtual and at least maybe 3 days in person. And then as you get really good at that, like maybe start shifting more if you want to go more virtual. But it's the instant money. New people need instant money. They don't need an expensive leads. And then, like term policies may take a longer time. And these virtual ones are a lot younger people that need term policies. And to win their business, you might have to do Transamerica and they might have to wait for, medical records or whatever. It's like, okay, you take the good with the bad. That is the bad side that I'm like, but it's learning because I'm like, I should have been talking to more people because if you talk to more people, there are going to be people in there that are going to be more instant. But majority, like they're just younger and they need policies that, that don't have instant, decisions. So yeah, that
That's
would be my
awesome.
schedule. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
If you guys are on the call and you're loving this, throw some love in the chat and all that. She is absolutely rocking it. Right now, for me, I was doing about 350 a week on it starting out, and like starting out as in when I got laid off. So I saw that as a reset for me. So I started a new journey and doing this full time. But I'm upping that since I'm switching over to Ethos. Now, don't get me wrong. I love every lead out there. Direct mails were amazing because
Mhm.
I really love that connection with people
Mhm.
and just being there face to face, being able to shake hands, because that's one of my strengths is making a connection with people. And what's really amazing is increase just seeing how the numbers work on that, because I'm starting to see it in mine because I'm starting to get that rhythm that you were talking about, Janet, and that
Mhm.
I'm upping that since I'm going into Ethos. Now those are going to be a little bit more pricey compared to what I've been paying,
Mhm.
but it's going to be higher intent. And that's what I'm excited for, is
Mhm.
getting in front of those higher intent people, like you said, working folks that are, they're killing it. They're having new babies. They're doing this,
Mhm.
that, and that, and just living life and just getting started essentially. And we get to be there for them to get them that good start. So I'm going from about 350 a week and I'm increasing that to 500 just so I can
So we're
really
both
step
in the
on the
same.
gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Same,
really
same.
step on the gas and then really start looking for those bigger ticket items, because I feel more comfortable with that. I love the problem solving when it comes to any demographic, because that's essentially what I did, in my past was as a scientist. You kind of put together a hypothesis, you figure things out, and it really just resonates with me is the best way to put it. So that's what I'm doing is, and right now while I'm transitioning, just to let you guys know, transitioning from being primarily in home, that I'm going to start doing kind of
Mhm.
more of a hybrid setup. So fitting in more, filling in the gaps with virtual, and then eventually just phasing out the driving in the field person to person completely.
Yeah. And I went with the Ethos lease that I bought. I intentionally bought them in Harris County, which I don't intend to always do that. But I figured if they're my first batch and I'm like fumbling all over the place, I wanted to be able to go to the house if they just really didn't trust me over the phone or something. Um, but it turns out no, I'm gonna be like, if I'm gonna be dialing at 8, I want to start calling North Carolina. If I'm available in the evening or whatever. I want some opportunity to call California, right? So I'll definitely be like, getting it in, getting ethos leads in different areas. And as far as how much we're working the leads, I mean, I call every single lead. Um, but I honestly like I'm to the point where the ethos leads are so like good at the pricing is just too good that and then the intent is so high that to me I'm going through my like I can't imagine spending too much time dialing the ones that continuously don't pick up. I just want new leads. So they're just so inexpensive and so good. That's what my plans are going to be with that. I'm probably not going to have enough time to keep redialing. I intend to probably just give the ones that, maybe I dialed twice and they didn't pick up, to just give them away. Just be like, here you go, to like new agents that have, they need that little bit of help. So, because I'm on like that where it sends it to you every week, a certain amount, and it's just, you can't quite possibly get in front of all of them. I'm going to get in front of the lowest hanging fruit though, and keep on moving. Um, but I think, I think follow up in your organization is super, super, super important. I think that is one of my strengths because I'm always constantly going like, how can I make sure that if I walked away from my business, someone could, if that knew my process could just walk right in, you open my computer and like, they know how my calendar works and they could literally pick up where I left off. And if you do that and you're constantly trying to perfect your process, you're not going to lose clients, right? You're not going to forget what you talked about with someone that you spoke to 3 months ago. You'll know exactly where to look to find the information within a minute or two. Um, and with anybody that I have that I'm working, I'm like super gung-ho about Google Calendar and keeping a lot of notes. And you can basically see the whole process. If you put their name in my calendar, like in the search box, it'll show you the first time I tried to call them, the first call. So sometimes the try isn't a try anymore, but I turn that into a call. So now it's my first call, second call, third call. And some of them, there'll be like 6 calls. It'll be like first, second, I'll like duplicate it and put it as second call and put it the date that I'm now, setting an appointment from an appointment. And then, so you see the whole story, you put their name in there and you see the whole thing. And I can always find my original notes because I always put the date at the top right and it'll always be on the first time I talk to them. So that's kind of like my flow. And I feel like, and then how I color coordinate my calendar, I, put them gray if they were a no-show. And when I just leave them there because when I get a chance to then have an hour to call no-shows, I'm now going back on all my grays and boom, 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 rescheduling, boom, boom, boom. And now they're not gray anymore because I retroactively turn them all green. So now it's green. That way, when I go back again another week to look at all my no-shows, the only ones showing gray are the ones that I've still not spoken with. So I have this like rhythm to where none of these people can fall through the cracks. None of them, because it's, all there. But anyways, if you guys are interested in ever just listening to like any of my calls, all you have to do is text me and say, hey, can I hop on and listen to you today? Sure, I'll send you the link. And you'll be able to actually, I share my screen so you can watch me and how I do my calendar. And then and you can listen to how I talk to the people. And 3 months ago, the response that I was getting from people was so different than it is now. Like it's insane. So it is kind of a science, as you were saying, like the flow, like figuring out how to say it, what to say. Like I need to say this up front, otherwise it's not going to be good in like 10 minutes into the call. So I'm like still room to improvement all the time, but but it's a quite different experience these past 2-3 weeks than it was in January. So I'd be happy to help anytime somebody wants to hop on.
That's great. So Aaron had a question here. So Aaron, the way that I've been finding these bigger annuities and these bigger cases, my biggest one that was close to 500,000 for an annuity, that honestly came from a bang bang. So you guys, you never know what is going to come out of a lead, and those leads are a $5 lead, and it just just working through them and then asking the questions like we're trained to do. it's like, hey, why are we here? Pressing the why, and then going through and then asking what their plan B is. I mean, Nick's training on virtual training is amazing. And I pretty much just took what he said and said it verbatim to
Mhm.
them. It's like, well, what's your plan B? And they're like, oh, I have this. It's like, okay, great. That's awesome. But what about, X, Y, and Z? And just going through the process, and it works. And for that one, that was actually kind of a unique case where it was an annuity that I had done back in January, but something had come up with a client, him and his family. So we had a 30-day look at, and then before I 30-day looked at, I went above and beyond. I was looking into Medicaid and their stuff. I was looking into Social Security. Uh, I was meeting with tax professionals to make sure that they were good on all the benefits they were getting from the state. Plus, it wasn't going to cause a huge tax liability, them getting this, getting the checks sent to them. And then we ended up combining it with another annuity that he had from another company. And now it's double the previous amount plus, double the payout too. So
Mhm.
you got to go above and beyond, and that's when you make that memory for your clients is when you do that and you're going outside of your comfort zone, and reaching out to these people, these other experts, to just make sure that your client is taken care of all around. Then they start telling their friends, and some of the other bigger ones that I have in the pipeline, that's through that other company that I'm working with for the retirement stuff. So that's how I'm finding those. They're
Mhm.
out there. It could be from a $5 lead, or it could be from a much more expensive lead. You just never know. So to go back to how I'm working the leads, I'll go through like that initial call, and I'll do the 3 dials, and don't leave a voicemail, but I'll shoot a text over to them, because a lot of times that works. Or if I can't get a hold of them, then I'll shoot them a text just saying like, hey, this is Jason from Legacy Life, responding back to your request for information about this. Would tomorrow be a good time around this time to give you a call? And a lot of times people respond in text messages, which
Mhm.
I never thought they would. And then I started doing that, and went from not being able to get a hold of them for like 2-3 weeks to they're responding like at 10 o'clock at night, or something like that, saying, oh, hey, sorry. And then the objections come in, and then we start just doing what we were trained to do at that point. So, and I learned this from Janet actually when she was talking about her sundown, like sun up to sundown, that when I'm out in the field for that day, I'll see where all my appointments are, and then I'll print off leads that are on my way home. And then depending on how that day went, if I got a bunch of no-shows, I'll just start door knocking as I'm going. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but that's just the nature of the business for us. And they're a lot nicer when they're in person, which is nice.
That's true. You're like, man, you just cussed me out on the phone, but like all of a sudden you're selling them a policy. I say helping them with life insurance and coverage for their family. But I
Yeah.
mean, so many, it's just like a natural thing when people put up objections. Like that's so common. Um, so does anybody else have any questions? I know Aaron had the one, and then if you guys, I don't know if you guys know, there's like a Q&A at the bottom if you guys have any other questions. Um, but I know that Jason wants to go in a little bit about the Legacy Life training in Vegas. Obviously, you guys all know that. Well, hopefully, and if you don't, now you're gonna know. But we've got a great event here, April. What is it? April 4th weekend. Yeah, so next weekend or this weekend, sorry, for National Agents Alliance. But our team has a training specifically for Legacy Life over in Vegas, and Jason will go into that.
Yeah, it looks like we do have uh Kat asked a question.
Okay.
So I have both actually. So she asked, are the leads final expense or IULs? I have a
Oh yeah.
mix of both. So primarily they are the final expense, but you never know what you're going to find in there. Or if, for example, one of the people I've sat down with, they've got a son, just started his career journey, and I've got a call with him next week to talk about more options for him. So you never know where that's going to lead. Um,
Mhm.
and then the IULs, a lot of times those are more higher intent. And those I just bought with the, what is it, the ethos leads. I was trying to figure out like the different types on the lead center and all that. So I just kind of went a little crazy and got a smorgasbord, so to speak, of different ones to see how they'd all play out. So I'm excited to start those later on. Do you have anything to add, Janet?
That's funny that you say that because I actually just randomly bought like a mortgage protection, like I don't know, like 20 to 15 of them or something randomly. And I've sold two policies out of them. I didn't even dial them twice. Like I've just, it was like at a weird time where I was like waiting on some leads, whatever. And I was like, play around with that. And it's like I sold two policies out of these like 12 leads, I think it was, or something like that. So play around with them, have fun. I mean, of course it's overhead, but you know, like a lot of the scripts can work, you know, very similar to one another. The whole point is just getting in front of them, getting the opportunity, having them like you and trust you and go from there. But
We have another question here,
okay.
Janet. It
We'll just
says,
talk
when
about
you
it.
call, do you say, hi, this is so and so from Legacy Life or blah blah county? What do you do in that
I'll
instance?
say blah blah county. No, I'm just kidding. I'm using the script that Mike sent me. I mean, I religiously use the first what like two, three sentences, and then I'm just like, blah, 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 and he just kind of like my own spin on it. But honestly, these ethos leads are so they're just like, oh yeah, you're calling about that. Like, I have not had pushback in the line. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. So super high intent. I didn't even think that was possible. But yeah, me saying I'm Janet Brush with Legacy Life. I'm a carrier. One of my carriers is Ethos, where you filled out an application. So I'm just calling to follow up with you. It looks like you didn't have enough time to fill it out, or maybe you got busy, or or I don't know, maybe the prices was too high. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Before I'm even done talking, they just start telling me. And then I just roll into like what I would do in person in front of somebody. Okay, tell me more. But yeah, um, again, you can just text me, hop on a call, and listen to exactly what I'm saying to these people. And honestly, it's like it's about the delivery, like because when I first started, I would like get this information, and then all the way at the bottom, I would start going into the question asking. I don't do that now. Like in the beginning, I'll go, oh, okay, you got a policy back in whatever. It looks like you got your policy originally in Maine. Are you still in Maine? Okay, cool. Um, you were 26 at the time. John, how old are you now? Or how young are you now? And I say it nonchalant because I don't want, it's like later I'm like height, weight, age, like boom, boom, boom. I'm already getting some of the little, oh yeah, it shows you here, yeah, your birthday's 9/8/44, right? And I'm already writing it on my list. It's like, whatever. And you know, like I'm doing a lot of the question asking through the process of like doing like asking what policies they have now. Oh, okay, what made you originally get that? You know, so the way they're like responding, they're just like it's in the flow, and by the time you're done, they're like, whoa, I just gave her like all that stuff. Like it wasn't all at
Mhm.
once. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Okay, so I know we're running a little long on time here.
Yes.
So Donna, I'll shoot you a message
There
with
might be one more.
your question, okay, after this.
Okay.
But yeah, so super excited. If trainings are the biggest thing, guys. Honestly,
Yeah.
going from trainings in the previous business into this one, like that's what really got me to where I am now. And it really helps when it comes to getting that confidence, just learning the nuts and bolts, and even the higher level stuff, because we're all going to be together. And then you get that
Hmm.
opportunity to talk to everyone, talk to your upline face to face, talk to people in the organization, in the alliance that you normally won't be able to. And then also making the connections with the carrier reps, which is huge. I can't tell you how many times I've messaged
Hmm.
some of the carrier reps to help me out. Be like, hey, listen, this is what's going on. Can you help me fast track this, or what would your recommendation be? And the one like Janet talks about coming up is the stage of success. And if you can get there, great, get that ticket. I'm sure we have some early bird tickets still floating around. talk to your upline about that. But those events are where we really make those connections, and they are amazing. And so if you can do that this week, get there. I'll be there. I'll say hi to all you guys. Come up and say hi. It's gonna be great. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna bond. It's gonna be fantastic. And then in May 3rd, we have the other training coming up, which is in Vegas. Everyone loves Vegas. You don't have your ticket yet, get it. I know I have mine. Janet has hers. And when it comes to rooms, I know there's people that are still trying to figure that out, but that is going to be amazing, especially with all the speakers that we have and them going through the nuts and bolts and everything that we need to know, especially with virtual, because that I'm going to be taking notes like crazy, just because that's what I want to transition to, and I really want to just start crushing it on that end. And that's a whole new skill set for me to learn. And I've never been in sales until till I started doing this. And this is how I learned are these trainings. And it's just a whole bunch of fun, and it's going to be amazing. And I hope to see all of you guys there. Janet, are you excited for these?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I
Well,
hope to see all
I
of you
love
guys
Vegas.
there.
I just got to make sure I don't spend too much money. I'm only coming for one night, because I'll be spending too much money at the casino.
Well,
But
traditions
I'll
are
see everybody hopefully this coming weekend, and if not, hopefully in Vegas. Oh, and by the way, don't discredit that people might be willing to do last minute trips. So you can still reach out to people within the next 24, 48 hours, and you'll be surprised there may be somebody that will come. Just like Mike, but was calling me like 2-3 days before Dallas, and I was like, oh, okay. So, think of people that you haven't asked yet, and go and invite them. So, all right. Well, y'all have a good evening.
Yeah.
Gotta go get my 2-year-old. Y'all have a good night.
All right. You guys have a good one. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
having us on. Appreciate you guys.
Yes.